The hidden button that's replacing 15 years of F1 technology. At first glance, the story behind the hidden button that's replacing 15 years of F1 technology sounds like another headline from the world of cars and racing. But the deeper you look, the more interesting it becomes. Because the real story is not only what happened, but why it happened, and what it could change next. That is the question this video is built around. Instead of simply repeating the headline, we are going to break down the decisions, the technology, the pressure, and the consequences behind it. And the timing matters, because modern motorsport and the automotive industry are changing faster than they have in years. A small technical decision can change a race. A management decision can change an entire team. A software decision can change how people interact with a car. And sometimes, a machine that looks strange at first can become the blueprint for something much bigger. The 2026 Formula One rules replace the old DRS-centered overtaking concept with active aerodynamics and a new electrical overtake mode. The cars can change aerodynamic configuration between cornering and straight-line running, while the following driver can receive additional electrical deployment when the system is available. That context is important because headlines often compress complicated stories into a single sentence. The reality is usually more complicated. There are budgets, regulations, engineering limits, contracts, human relationships, and competitive pressure operating at the same time. When those forces collide, the result can look sudden even when the people inside the project have been preparing for it for months or years. That is especially true in elite motorsport. A Formula One or MotoGP operation is not simply a group of people building a fast machine. It is a moving organization where performance, reliability, politics, finance, engineering, drivers, and strategy all have to work together. If one part falls behind, the weakness can spread through the entire system. The same principle applies to road car companies. A vehicle can have brilliant engineering and still fail if customers do not understand it. A technology can be revolutionary and still be difficult to deploy because regulations move more slowly than innovation. And a company can have enormous ambition while still discovering that execution is harder than the original presentation suggested. This is why the most interesting part of this story is not the headline itself. It is the gap between what was supposed to happen and what actually happened. That gap tells us where the real pressure is. Look at the incentives involved. Teams want performance, but they also need reliability. Manufacturers want innovation, but they need products that can be approved, manufactured, supported, and understood by customers. Drivers want competitive machinery, but their careers depend on decisions made by organizations around them. And executives have to make choices before anyone knows exactly how those choices will turn out. That creates a fascinating chain reaction. One decision changes the technical direction. The technical direction changes the competitive picture. The competitive picture changes expectations. And those expectations eventually influence the next decision. The story also reveals something about modern automotive development. Cars are no longer just mechanical objects. They are increasingly combinations of software, electronics, aerodynamics, batteries, sensors, data, and traditional mechanical engineering. That means the definition of performance is changing. It is no longer enough to ask how powerful a machine is. We also have to ask how efficiently it uses energy, how intelligently it manages information, how consistently it performs, and how well the entire system works together. That is one reason today's automotive stories can feel so different from stories from 20 or 30 years ago. The technology is moving into areas that were previously invisible to ordinary drivers. Software updates can change behavior. Energy management can become part of race strategy. Aerodynamic surfaces can move while the vehicle is in motion. And autonomous systems can begin taking over tasks that once required a human behind the wheel. But progress does not eliminate risk. In fact, it can create new types of risk. A new system may introduce reliability problems. A new rule may produce unexpected competitive effects. A new business strategy may require more money than expected. And a new legal or regulatory environment can completely change the timetable. That is why the next chapter of this story matters. The first reaction is rarely the final reaction. Teams adapt, companies change plans, drivers move. Engineers redesign components, regulators respond to new evidence, and audiences discover that the original headline was only the beginning. For viewers, that makes this story bigger than one car, one driver, one team, or one company. It becomes a case study in how the modern automotive world actually works. The winners are usually not the people who make one spectacular decision. They are the organizations that can keep making good decisions after the first surprise appears. That requires patience, data, engineering discipline, communication, and the ability to admit when something is not working. It also requires knowing when to protect an existing strategy and when to abandon it. That balance is extremely difficult. And that is exactly what makes this story worth watching. Because behind every headline is a decision. Behind every decision is a reason. And behind every reason is a set of pressures that most viewers never get to see. Once you understand those pressures, the story looks completely different. So when you hear the headline again, do not just ask what happened. Ask who benefited, who took the risk, what problem the decision was supposed to solve, and what happens if the decision fails. Those questions usually reveal the real story. And in this case, the answer points toward a much bigger change in the world of performance cars, motorsport, and automotive technology. The most important lesson is simple. Speed matters, but speed alone is never enough. Technology matters, but technology without execution can become a liability. Ambition matters, but ambition has to survive contact with reality. And the organizations that understand that balance will be the ones shaping the next era. That is why this story is not just about what happened yesterday. It is about what today's decision tells us about tomorrow. And if the current direction continues, the next few seasons could look very different from the ones that came before them. For now, the headline may be the easiest part to remember. The harder part is understanding everything underneath it. That is where the real story begins. And that is the part worth remembering when the next headline arrives. The machine may change, the names may change, and the rules may change, but the pressure to innovate never disappears. The people who understand that pressure will be better prepared for whatever comes next. The bigger picture is clear. Performance, engineering, strategy, reliability, technology, and human judgment are connected.